So this is going to be a really rough thing on how to do quest glitter. I don't have time to edit down a video, so it's going to be really raw, so I apologize if I stutter and all that here, and then forget something and need to go back. But this is what quest glitter looks like. If you don't know what it looks like, see it in the eyes on this. You can do it on a lot of objects. For this one, it's on, you can see it on the trousers on this. It's also on the face on this. And it's all done using the same process. So I will show that. This is using a different one to the other one, in the fact of the trousers on this are the same as the other one, in that they are triangles. Face on this one is using circles, which looks more like Pyomi if you want it to look exactly like Pyomi. And the rough gist on how it works is it's texture mapping on using the additive shader, and the additive shader allows you to texture map over something that's black, and when it's over something that's black it disappears, because black with additive is transparent. And since these are all on a single pixel, at a low resolution, the texture is blurry. So if it's all on a single pixel and 2 pixels of black and white are next to each other, then as it pans over the white, it slowly fades in, and then as it pans over the black, it slowly fades out. All of this is textured using that exact method, so I have a light pixel of orange, a dark pixel of orange, and I stretch the UV between them, and now it can easily have a nice gradient across it, a perfect gradient, while being literally just a pixel big. It's how everything on this is textured, and it uses just that for the glitter. So, sit down here. So to do glitter, let's save this. I will open up a random project of this, for example. You want to make sure all the blend shapes are done, or the weight painting is done. This is because the glitter is part of the mesh, and you want to make sure it has the same blend shapes. So you don't want to do it around the mouth because it's a separate mesh, and the mouth has visemes. So cheeks is fine, as long as it's the upper cheeks, you won't notice it as much. But you don't want it around the lower part of the face, because as the mouth opens with the blend shape, not sure why the blend shapes aren't working on it. Oh, there we go. If the mouth opens with the blend shape, like for example this, it's not going to move with it. This is a mesh that I later combined. Everything that's got a 1 is combined. So this is combined so you don't notice it. And it still has the same blend shapes on it. So this is why you need to do the blend shapes before, and same with the weight painting. You want the weight painting to be the exact same, otherwise it will offset. Because all these glitter things are technically a separate mesh. And they cannot combine into the same mesh because texture mapping affects everything on that object. An object's material slot cannot be animated individually. It animates all material slots in the object. So just animating one animates all of them, which is why it needs to be a separate object. So if I ever do glitter, it's separated. So for example, how I did this face glitter, let me just isolate the head, is I will get everywhere where I want the glitter to be first. Select all of this. And then once I'm happy with wherever I want the glitter, I think, oh, that's good. Just roughly. Maybe a bit there. I'm gonna duplicate, and then if I right click after duplicating, it puts it back exactly where it was. P and separate selection. Now I have a separate object that is just that piece of face. I'm also gonna turn on, this so you can be able to see all my buttons down here when I'm clicking. So now I have this as a separate object. So I'm gonna go into this, select everything. I'm gonna go into this mode so it's a little easier. And you're gonna subdivide this. Of course, subdividing, you want to be careful. Like, same with the subd modifier. Never ever use the subd modifier, because that's how you get anything with over like 70,000 polys, like an avatar. So you need to be careful with it. But with this, you want to subdivide it until each of these are as small as you want the glitter particles to be. So I'd say this is about as small as I want it. If your mesh has like a really dense area on it, you need to be careful because suddenly when you subdivide, now this is going to be smaller than everything else. So you usually don't want to take away pieces of mesh. Like, I don't want to randomly dissolve this edge loop here. Instead, what you want to do is I've got the wrong mouse on. Hang on. There we go. Instead, what you want to do is add in the mesh. So just add edge loops as and where you need the edge loops. So say if there's like an extra bit up here that's too thick or something, you need to add them there. That's only for major. All this is fine. All these are roughly the same shape. There's a little more dense here, but it's okay. This is only like if you have suddenly a part that's got like massively wide, like this, then you might want to add some extra loops in there. You just need to be careful with that because it's going to offset it from the underneath mesh. Either way, that's a nitpick. Grab the mesh, and you want to use Alt-S, and then move it ever so slightly. I'm holding Shift to move things slower, otherwise if I didn't hold Shift, it'd move too fast. So Alt-S, move it out ever so slightly. And now it's away from the main mesh. Let me add back in the subdivisions. And now you're going to use select random. Now, my old process for this was not fun. I'm also going to get rid of these seam lines. I don't need these seams. So, right now at least, because they're distracting to me. Clear, there. We're going to be adding seams back in a bit though. Anywhere where it's below the original mesh, you can see the original mesh poking through. You want to pull outwards. You can use this by literally pulling it outwards, or you can use a sculpt brush with, used to be called inflate on older versions of Blender, I think. Or actually, that might be a separate one. Blob. You want to use the blob. And use that just to inflate it a little bit so that it's the tiniest bit above. If it's too much, like this probably is a little too much right now. You can turn down the strength. And this is because otherwise your glitter particles are gonna clip into the underneath mesh. So you want to make sure it is above. You don't want to do it too much because you don't want to offset it too much. But for the most part, it's fine. Okay, that's roughly it. Doesn't need to be perfect. Again, you're not using most of this mesh. I mean, heck, this is subdivided to oblivion. So it's roughly the glitter particle size I want it. And then you use select random. So I'd recommend binding it to your quick favorites. I've got select random on here. How you access it is up top, select. You go on select random. There we go. You can right click it, add quick favorites, and then anytime you press Q, you can access it a lot easier. Especially when you're repeating a key again and again. If it's in a hidden away menu, it's a lot more easier to press Q than it is to go into the menu and keep pressing it. So use select random. And actually, before you do this, do Control T. Highlight everything and Control T. Just to make everything a triangle. if you want it to be squares, you can do it as it was before and do the process exactly how I am about to explain it without doing Control T here. But Control T makes them into triangles and therefore makes it more optimized, because if you do squares, squares are 2 polygons per square, not 1, because polys are counting the triangles. It's the try count. So if you want it to be more optimized, if you don't have enough polygons to spare on your avatar, if you're over 70,000 polygons, to keep it under and keep it still more optimized, use triangles. If you're really under the poly count, like this model, this final model is under 20,000 polys for this whole thing. Obviously it's over now with this extra piece, but you can see it's under, and this is including the glitter that's already on the object. So I had a lot of room. I think I was at 12k polys and I still had 8,000. So I could do squares, and in fact I could do more than squares, and I'll show that in a second. So those are for the shapes that you want to do. If you want to do it in different shapes, you could do squares, you could do circles, which is only if you have lots of polygons to spare. Do not ever use circles if you are over the poly count on PC. If you're over PC medium poly count, which is 70,000 polys, don't use it. Polys make a lot of lag. So you don't need to be adding needless little bits of glitter that are circles just for a nice look that not many people are going to notice too much. Triangles will do just fine. So convert them into triangles. If you're doing the circle method, make triangles. And then you're going to select random. Turn down the ratio so that there's very few that are selected. And you can mess with the seed however you want. The seed is just like a Minecraft seed. It's just a random generation where it's selecting these. And then you want to P separate selection. And you want to do this a couple times, just so it's selecting them in random areas. P separate selection. Before you separate as well, on the second time you separate selection, actually we'll do that after. Again, sorry this is so rough. I'm very bad at editing videos, so I turn it down a little bit, press the seed a little bit, the separate selection. Okay, now I can delete this original object. There. So I've got all these little glitter pieces. So 1, 2, and 3. So it's honestly not many polys. This is about, I'd say this is probably about 800 polys. Oh, 400. Not too bad. Which I mean, if it's 400, it'll be about 1,200 if you're doing circles. And so you want to grab one of them. So grab one of the pieces, go into edit mode, and you want to just offset it ever so slightly. And then do the same with another one. You offset it ever so slightly, maybe the opposite way. Just a tiny bit. And this is just so they don't z-find. I don't know if z-writing is possible with additive, but just in case, I do it anyway. And then you can combine these into one mesh. So Control J on the objects outside of edit mode. And I'm going to name this glitter. Now, you've got all your glitter particles. You've got them where you want them. If you want to fade out the glitter, say like I did it on this avatar, where on the cheeks it kind of fades out a bit, especially at the top of the nose. What you can do is make sure you're in face mode. When you, I forgot to say before as well, when you use select random, you need to make sure you're in face mode select random. This is why recording and editing is so much better. So once you've got all of these, you want to grab only the area where you want less of them, where you want to start fading out. So what if I start fading it from the top of the bridge of the nose? I'll grab this, and I'm going to use select random again, except change it to deselect. So now I'll deselect most of these, and then delete. And then I'll go a little higher, and then select random, select deselect. It should automatically be there. And then I'm gonna change the speed a little bit. And up a little. Yeah. And then delete. And basically, you're basically making it so more and more get deleted the higher you go. So that way they're fading out. So select random. Faces. And then maybe I can do a couple of these by hand. You can also do this by hand, but it's easier, especially if you have a lot more. If you want way more glitter pieces, you can do a lot more of them when you like separate from the original mesh. So that way now they fade out as they get towards the top. You can do the same with the cheeks. I'm not going to do that in this example. You can also do it fading down, etc., etc. So now you want to mark everything as a seam. So select all, mark seam. And now everything's a seam, everything's separated, but it's not separated on some of them. This. So we want to make sure they're all separated, 100%. So I'm going to do Control T again, just to make sure they're all triangles. I'm going to mark seam again, just to make sure all the seams are marked, just in case a random square slips through, which it can. And then we're going to go on Mesh. Oh, I hope it's this menu. Not that one. I always struggle refinding this. Split. You want to go on Mesh and Split and Faces by Edges. And now it should have split up anything that was together. So now everything is individual. Speaking of individual, if you want these glitter pieces to be slightly bigger or slightly smaller, now's the time. You can also randomize these a little bit or overlap them a little bit. If you make them smaller than what you want them to be, and then you want to set your origin point, you could do it up here. You could do it with the keybind period. By default, it's on medium point. You want it to be individual origins. And now instead of scaling as a big bunch like this, it will scale individually each of them. So now you can make them all smaller, way more spread out and such. You can keep it out as is. You can make them bigger so they overlap. Just know they will stick out in some parts. So it's completely up to you. I'm going to make these slightly bigger. I'm going to randomly rotate on a random axis. So you can do that. You can completely randomize them in that kind of a way. I don't want to rotate though, because otherwise it's going to offset it too much. And that should be all the mesh part done. So now for the UV mapping. So the UV for something with glitter looks like where is that? Yeah, this. So glitter looks like this. It is black with random speckles over it. Something like this, where there's more speckles than there is blackness, means you're gonna have it so it's almost all the time looking like it's on the face. Whereas if you were to use it on something like this and have a lot more of them disappear and fade in and out, you would want to have almost the whole thing black with a few more. You want more black than speckles. So if you want them all the time looking like they're there all the time, use more speckles. If you want them not there all the time and you want it to look more randomized and more fade in and out and stuff, then use more black than color. This is using the triangle method. So now that you've got all these, you want to select everything, unwrap angle based. And now it should have unwrapped every single thing on the sheet into whatever your texture sheet is. Doesn't matter what size or anything your sheet is, just that whatever your texture for the glitter is goes all the way from one side to the other. So it can either be on the y-axis, where it's all the way from top to bottom, or it can be on the x-axis going side to side. And then you're also going to put this to individual origins. Usually it's medium point. You don't want it on that. You want it on individual. And you're going to scale these all, press scale, 0, and enter. And now all these are on exactly 1 pixel. And now set it back to median. And now you want to make it the size / shape or what have you of whatever your glitter section is. Sometimes when you export it, you will find, oh, my throat's hurting. Sometimes when you export it, you will find random, like, there'll be like a row here going really tall or something. Just grab that row and just move them. Simple as that. As long as they're all on individual points, it doesn't matter. If there's some that are too spread out, you can correct them here. So you want to get all them, scale it roughly to fit over this patch. Just gonna do this. Don't worry if it's going off of the sheet, unless it's going off in not the direction it is. If it's going off in the direction it's going to go, that's fine. If it's going off this way, that isn't fine because it loops. The texture sheets loop. So whatever's at the top here is at the bottom here. So it acts as if there's like it's tiled. That's why it's called tiling in Unity when you mess with textures in that kind of a way. So I'm going to turn this to material view so you can see this. And now this is literally the glitter effect. This is all it is. So that's placing the glitter on the model. In Unity, it's just making it additive and it's animating the texture mapping going from 1 or going from 0 to 1. And then it loops. And you got to make sure when you animate the texture mapping to make it a linear animation. Otherwise it will like slow in and then slow out, which you don't want. You want it to be a constant thing of it constantly panning. And it looks like this when it's panning. Obviously you can't see the mapping yourself changing in Unity, but this is what it technically looks like as the mapping's panning over on your sheet. And this is how you do glitter. You can do it on literally any object. Again, just know the whole, if you have a blend shape on that object, you have to, in Unity, animate the blend shape on the glitter object, because it's a separate object, and the original. The reason why I say not to, again, just reiterating, the reason why I say not to put it around the mouth is because the mouth, Visemes, if you're not using a custom Viseme layer and you're using the default VRChat Viseme thing that's built into the descriptor, it doesn't allow you to put in more than one mesh. You can only put in one mesh. So, as you can already see here, it's clipping slightly. And I cannot move the other mesh and this one at the same time. Even if it has the same blend shapes, the descriptor just doesn't allow me to put in another mesh. So the only way to get around this would, if you really wanted it, would be to literally make your own layer for the Visemes, which not many people do because it's difficult to get it to move right. But yeah, that's the only really thing to keep in mind. Say for example, the trousers on the one that I'm doing this on right now. Let me not save this. The trousers on this have glitter. And unfortunately, I made an edit to the trousers after the glitter was made, and this is why you want to make sure blend shapes are done before that, because you can see they then start clipping in. But at least it's roughly animated, and this is what I mean also by when you animate, say on this, the scale of the body going up, I also need to animate the scale of the glitter object going up as well to match it. Except, yeah, you can see here, there were edits made to the blend shape that now make the glitter clip on some things. But other than that, that's basically it. It's easy to do, it's a little tedious, but it's very easy to do, and especially for Quest users that don't get to experience this, they don't get to see glitter, it's definitely worth it. The wings on this avatar are using the exact same method where it's texture panning. Everything that's moving on this avatar, including like slight pulsations from the arms and stuff, are all done using the same method. It's hard to see in this world where it's all glowy. Perhaps if I do this, you can see it slightly more. But yeah, so it's incredibly easy to do, and you can use it for a lot of things, like how it the flame effect and stuff, and the wings and all that. Texture mapping is a very powerful tool, and I really recommend looking into texture mapping. Yeah, that's that. Just very roughly adding in, because I completely forgot to do it, is if you want to make glitter that's round shaped, like I was saying, you want it to be triangles, all that video still applies. All it is the shape, and you can easily edit it at the end if you're still wanting to do it. So I've got this, subdivide. Okay. I'm gonna go. Random. You need to make sure you're in face mode. Right, select random. Turn it down. You need to make sure that triangles actually first, right? So triangles, select random. I'm adding this in right at the end after I've done everything already. Separate selection. Okay, so if you do want them to be circles instead, what you do is you still need to do the thing where you mark all the seams. So mark seam. You still need to do the thing where you separate. So split faces by edges. And now you want to subdivide these. And if you have the loop tools plugin, if not, go and file the plugins and extensions and get loop tools. Right click, loop tools, circle. Just know this is quite heavy and it may take a little bit to load. There we go. And there will be some that bug out. If they do, you want to make sure to either delete them. This is usually because they're attached to something, or mirror mode is on. So for me, mirror mode is on. So I need to not check on mirror mode. There we go. So turn that off, and now I will that circle there. If there is something that was a square, you might find you have a giant circle somewhere. So just delete that. You don't need it. And yeah, that's basically how you make them circles. Circles are look a lot more like Pyomi. Yeah, they're polygonal, but you don't notice that as much. Especially when they're tiny little glitter pieces that are fading in and out of existence. So that's how you make them in circles. And it's the exact same process for putting them onto the sheet. You just grab them, you unwrap angle based, make them super tiny, and then you just bring them onto the bit of the sheet where they pan. But yeah, that's basically it.